I'm not always the biggest fan of these revenge movies, so we'll see how this one is. I do recognize a couple of the cast members, though, so it's like that's at least showing me some promise. I mean, Gina Carano, she's going to be in the new Mandalorian show. Very excited to see her. Richard Dreyfuss is in this movie as well. Okay, so Daughter of the Wolf. It's releasing on the 2nd of August of this year. It's a new action thriller movie that kind of is taking a very, a revenge-esque type path. So this is the official synopsis for it, according to IMDb. A military veteran hunts the men who kidnapped her son. While on one hand I read that and I'm like, okay, being a very emotional person, I understand kind of the depth behind what you see on screen, at least in this case of the premise, but it's still, I'm like, vengeance is mine if saith the Lord. So I'm like, I'm not always into this. Like, I understand, the need in some cases, you feel like life's wronged you or somebody gets hurt, people that are left behind, in some cases, people that are very close to them, they feel like, justice wasn't done, they need to get justice for whatever transpired. It's a fine line to walk. I'm not always a big fan of these revenge-type stories. In some cases, they're okay. In some cases, we can definitely empathize and commiserate. In some cases, maybe they go way too over the top. And usually that tends to be, for me, the cases I've seen usually fall into that third category. So for me, I'm like, what am I in for? Especially with the R rating, I'm like, I'm not into really gory projects and bloody action violence. So this may get a bit brutal for me. I'm just anticipating. But yeah, revenge stories. I prefer encouraging entertainment, like stuff that isn't always so negative. So let's see what you think of it based on the trailer, not just the premise, right? You can't judge something solely on its premise unless it's like quite evident. So, but for me, I'm like, we'll let the trailer figure this out for me. So let's take a look. As always, we're going to watch this first, and we will definitely talk about it in my condensed review segment for us watching the video together. Alrighty, here we go. And just as I feared, that's this in the R rating. Okay, well, we'll see what this is. I am a sucker for winter scenes, though.
Charlie?
If you want to bring me in, you certainly did on that opening shot.
Claire Hamilton, we have your boy.
Ooh.
Get him to the camp. We're going on to the lodge.
Oh, okay. I'm like, where's that hammer going?
Bringing money?
Where's my son?
Your boy's alive for now. Do it. Do it now. Go, 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 go!
Oh boy.
You were gonna kill her? That was the plan.
Yeah, this is gonna get brutal.
Where is my son?
If she paid the ransom, he'd be here by now.
You took him from me. Now you're gonna help me get him back.
You were military. You ever get used to taking a man's life?
I knew what I signed up for.
Claire Hamilton, you come here to kill us all.
Ooh.
I can't remember a time when I wasn't driven by rage.
Where is my son?
Okay. You're winning. Ooh. You are winning me over with the cinematography. My favorite season is winter, or one of them. So it's like seeing winter shots on the opening. I'm like, yeah, count me in. That looked beautiful. But for me, as the trailer played out, I'm still kind of at its point of apprehension where I'm like, oh, it's going to get really intense, and I'm not a big fan of that. We'll see how it is. And they didn't go too over the top, I think, for the trailer. Still, it's a very violent one. It's more so, I think, the suggestion of what will be in the movie. Because they can't show everything, obviously, a trailer that isn't like marked red band or something to kind of single it out so, younger audiences don't see it. Because this is being put out to the general public. So, right, they got to be careful. And for me, I'm like, well, you're not showing me too much right now. But I still see kind of the element of the revenge story. But it seems like she's being forced to go along the path of the person who kidnapped the kid. That's a very interesting twist. So I'm reading that right. I hope she gets her son back. But I'm excited to see Gina Carano, though. I'm a fan of hers. I'm really looking forward to this. As I said, she's going to be in The Mandalorian. I'm really looking forward to that show. But it does look like a good action film, I would say. Just from the trailer itself, I'm judging on that, with some treachery in the way. Not just with a lot of snow and ice and cold, but some wolves in there too. That's quite a pretty wolf. I mean, that's beautiful. Beautiful creature. Love the black fur. Wolves are so pretty to look at. But the cinematography alone is just mesmerizing. I mean, for winter. What environment to, Daughter of the Wolf. How fitting to put like a winter spin on it too. I mean, it definitely looks great. I mean, as far as visually, it's almost like, it almost reminds me of John Wick in a way, I would say. Because John Wick, another very violent type, sort of revenge story, at least that first chapter. But for this one, at least, actually, to go more on that, the connections between the two, both are aesthetically just beautiful. I mean, the second chapter for John Wick, while I'm still kind of hit and miss with it, I'm like, oh, there's a lot I like, but there's a lot I don't like. The visuals are stunning. I mean, you watch the film and it's like, man, this is real artistry here. You look at a lot of the environments, they're fighting in like that big mirror house, and it was just beautiful. I mean, that's a fight that really took me away, where I'm like, I can't stop watching this. It's just so pretty to look at that shot. And for me, it's like you have all these winter shots in here with this ravine down below. I mean, it looks great. As far as a dangerous action film, too. Yeah, certainly fits. So, kind of some connections seen to John Wick, and kind of a similar situation where I'm kind of hit or miss at a vote for this. I'm like, I'm between the two. You know, let's say I'm watching the film for John Wick versus watching the trailer for this. It's a little bit easier for me to swallow this one. I'm just worrisome about how the movie's going to look when it's released. So, I guess we'll find out together on August 2nd of this year when Daughter of the Wolf releases. But I think there's some stuff going for it. It looks like a show with some promise.